So with no further ado, allow me to introduce our first honoree. She is a woman who has taken us to the front lines of some of the most memorable moments of our time. From Baghdad to Kosovo, here she is in action.
Sunday mornings, this is where the newsmakers answer to you, because they answer to her.
We witnessed some intense negotiations between Israeli and Palestinian leaders.
You said they might never have this chance again.
Christiane Amanpour, taking you to the center of the story.
This morning, we come to you live from Tucson, Arizona. Yesterday, a gunman opened fire. The primary target was Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords.
Giving you a voice.
This whole community has been so touched. What is the lasting impression that you will take away from that day?
Asking the tough questions you want answered.
Will you succeed in Afghanistan?
I think we can.
The unexpected.
I think I should pay higher taxes.
Pulling no punches.
Do you have regrets about Iraq?
You can't not have regrets about the lives lost.
No spin, no nonsense, unafraid.
What do you personally think of stoning?
If you want to lecture me, you can, but
I'm asking your opinion.
On the front lines of revolution.
Hello again from Cairo, where it has been an epic week here and across Egypt, the start of an unprecedented new political process. We left that angry crowd, and as we started to drive off, they hit the car with their fist and threw a rock through the front window.
Christiane Amanpour, first to interview Egypt's defiant Mubarak.
What did he say exactly?
He said that he felt that he had met your demands.
No, of course, he's a liar. He's a big liar. We don't believe him at all.
And the first to interview Libya's all-powerful
I'm Christiane Amanpour.
Muammar Gaddafi.
You were in Iran.
Iran, Iraq, everywhere.
Just as the revolution spread.
Colonel Gaddafi, the President of the United States, the leaders of Britain and other leaders are calling on you to step down. Will you do that?
ABC News, Christiane Amanpour.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christiane Amanpour. Christiane Aziz, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. You just had Maz on, who's a fantastic comedian. I didn't realize that some of the people I interview are pretty good comedians as well.
They certainly are, and you have quite a sense of humor yourself. Now, you know, I've followed you religiously. I'm one of the people, the women, the men who have come into this career because of you, because I remember watching you. I believe it was in Iraq, the Iraq War, where the explosion goes off behind you and you jump, but you don't move. You keep reporting. One of the most brilliant moments I've ever watched. And I said, I have to meet that woman. And I know there are a lot of kids out there who want to know a lot about you. My first question is, when you, one of your interviews, you said that you came to CNN with a suitcase, a bicycle, and $100. And here you are today, one of the most revered, successful journalists of our time. What is it that makes Christiane Amanpour Christiane Amanpour?
Wow, thank you. Look, first, I just wanted to say thank you for having me. It really is a great honor to be here. I'm delighted to be here with all of you Iranian Americans. I have been so proud of our joint heritage. And even though I started in this country right at the height of the hostage crisis, when relations between the United States and Iran was so bad, I was always very proud and never hid that I was an Iranian. And so I think all the people who are being honored tonight, everywhere I look, whether it's in academia, whether it's in science or medicine, whether it's in space, whether it's in the arts, in journalism, Iranians are contributing to this country's well-being and to its productivity and are making fantastic, big impact here. So I'm very proud of that. What made me do this? Really, it was the Iranian Revolution. It happened, I was there, I was old enough to understand it, and I was old enough to understand what a profound, cataclysmic event it was. And I decided then that I wanted to be able to spend my life telling the stories about these huge global events to people so that they understood what was going on, because it was very confusing at the time to many people. So I came here to the US and I went to university and I started at CNN exactly like 28 years ago with my suitcase and my bicycle and my $100, and I worked from the very bottom. And I think if I have one lesson or one insight to share with any of the young people here, it is that we have to start at the very bottom. We have to not be afraid to put everything that is necessary into that journey towards our dreams. And I also believe strongly that if you don't love what you're doing, you're probably not going to be very good at it. So to find a passion and a mission and to love it and to seek and strive.
Now you've spent the past several decades covering some of the most horrific atrocities.
I feel so old when you say that.
I don't want to say it because I'm aging myself. Just a few years, how about that? You've spent the past few years covering some of the most horrific events of our time. I mean, you've gone to every war zone, you've reported from there, and yet you've managed to continue to maintain this sense of who you are. You haven't let it demoralize you. You've said that it's like being in a constant state of fear.
Yeah.
How do you live like that?
Well, when my little boy was born, I gave a speech. He was about 6 years old. 6 months old when I gave this speech, and I said that, you know, don't think that what we do is not frightening, and that particularly now that I'm a mother, I'm much, much more aware of the dangers. So I said that we do live in a constant state of fear, those of us who are on the front lines, who confront more and more people who would do the messenger harm, who wants to shut down the messenger. So I said that it's really not about not being afraid, it's about managing the fear. And I think that is the truth for all of us who do these jobs, people who do any kind of extreme jobs. And I've also said that, and I do believe this, that being in these extreme situations is like being an emergency room doctor. You have to keep it together in order to do your job. It doesn't mean to say you lose your humanity or you divorce yourself from what's happening in front of your eyes, but you can't afford to fall apart. And that's what I've done. I've managed to try very hard to keep it together while I'm doing my job, and actually to put all the frustration and the pain and the angst and the sort of the anger that you develop when you see these dramatic injustices around the world into the work. So I put all of that into the work, and I try to tell the story. And in that way, I give vent to my feelings without showing my feelings or taking sides or doing anything that's unprofessional.
Well, there's nothing unprofessional about you. That was what I was going to follow up with, is how difficult is it, as someone who's been in the field herself? I admire you so much because I know you care. I know that these issues affect you, but you get tremendous flack for always being neutral, or at least reporting neutral. There's a big difference between that, but how do you do it?
Well, I don't think I've had tremendous flack for that, and I would just say that there's a difference between being neutral and being objective. I'm not neutral, I'm objective, which is the golden rule of our profession, as you know, and it's often very difficult. But for me, I came to a very special conclusion during the Bosnia War. Because in Bosnia, people actually said that I wasn't being neutral, that I was siding with the Bosnians in Sarajevo and elsewhere who were the victims. And so what I realized is that actually, in certain instances where there are gross violations of human rights and humanitarian law, where there's ethnic cleansing or genocide, I mean the worst crimes known to humankind, you cannot be neutral. But being objective does not mean drawing a false equivalence or making a false balance. It means telling the truth. So for me, telling the truth is what I seek to do, and that's my sort of guiding light. As long as I can tell the truth, then that is what the story is, without saying that you're on this side or you're on that side. And I would say, you know, you asked me this question at a time where opinion and feeling and personal sentiment from journalists is becoming the norm. And I exist still, and now with a great deal of effort and consciousness, in a fact-based reality. This world is full of facts. And you, as a journalist, it's incumbent upon you to seek the facts. Because if you don't, then nobody knows what the truth is. You can't just have people's opinion of what reality is. You need to know the facts of what the reality is.
Well, for a few decades, again, we have all been looking to you for the facts, and you have never let us down. Thank you for that, Christiane. Today, all of us Iranian Americans are working in various fields. We've become successful in various fields. But there is a silent expectation from Iranian Americans, especially on policy issues, because of our Iranian heritage, to take a stand. How do you deal with those expectations? That you should be focusing on Iran, that you should somehow be dealing differently with Iran than every other story you deal with?
Well, again, I don't pay any attention to that. I basically do my job. And of course, it might, you know, not satisfy everybody, but I go out there and I'm objective. Yes, I understand that for this crowd, what's happening in Iran today is something that you deeply oppose. Well, my job is not to go out there to oppose or to condone. It's to go out there and be as dogged as I can be to get the truth and to be able to tell the full story. So I have spent a lot of time, you know, being vilified by various governments and countries that I go into because I try to tell the truth. But one thing I cannot do is try to satisfy my audience or any constituency, because then I become just a political tool. And I'm obviously not prepared to do that. So again, while I can imagine that some people would like me to say X, Y, or Z, I am still going to have to put it and do my work in, you know, a very rigorous journalistic perspective. And I do think that I've had quite an opportunity to interview leaders both from Iran and all over the world, and I have managed to, you know, put their feet to the fire and expose what's going on, what they're thinking, and what the reality is, but continuing to do an objective job of journalism.
Well, thank God for that, Christiane. Because, as you know, the world of journalism is changing. This 24-hour cycle is changing. There's blogs that are confused as news. The internet has become so pervasive that governments are overthrown through organizations that come together on the internet. And it's very difficult in several instances, as you know, to be able to distinguish fact from fiction. How do you deal with all of this? And what is your message to kids who are out there who want to be journalists, or journalists who are out there? How should they stay on message?
Well, look, it is obviously, if you go into a completely new place, it's difficult to know immediately what's going on. So I think there are a couple of things to say. One is that there are many, many, many different places where you can get great research, great facts, great information to be able to sort of set you on your way. There are also, I also believe that experience plays a huge role in this. You know, clearly the way I did my job when I first started is very different to the way I do my job right now. You build up a body of work, you build up a network of people who you trust and who trust you. You try to seek information from all sorts of different sources. Don't just believe what you read. Of course I go on the internet, but I don't get my information from blogs necessarily. I get some of it, I get a flavor of what's going on. But since I know that all of those are written from a certain perspective, I can appreciate them for the perspective they are, but not necessarily take that as being necessarily an objective fact if I'm seeking a certain fact. So look, just to say that there are many, many different ways of educating yourself, of familiarizing yourself with whatever situation you find yourself in. And with time and with experience, you develop a much sharper sense of where the truth is and who you can rely on to find that.
Well, I know you have a flight to catch, but before I let you go, I just want you to tell our youth in the audience who want to grow up to be Christiane Amanpour, give them one final word of advice, if you will.
Well, first of all, thank you very much indeed for having me. Look, what she means is who want to grow up to have a career that you love and that you feel you can do well in. And as I said, you have to find something that you love and have the passion and the commitment and be prepared to make any sacrifices, whatever's required to get from the beginning to your goal. And I also think that one of the disservices that's been done to our young people over the last several years is the sort of quaint and false notion that you can be an instant success or you can be instantly good at what you do. There's no such thing as overnight success. Every single person I know who's successful, who's maybe described as an overnight success, has been toiling in their field of labor for years and years and years. And in fact, Malcolm Gladwell in his book, I think it was probably Outliers, I can't remember which book it was, but he basically says, he talks about the 10,000 hours, the 10 years of what it takes. And it really is true. If you look around, I know it's true for myself. It took a good 10 years for me to be promoted to a position that was a good position. And then the following 10 years was trying to perfect the craft and just trying to, you know, be better and do better. So there's no answer to just doing the hard work. And I think that's probably a vital lesson, because so many people do think that it's just like, you know, you see it on television, you see it in the movies, well, it must be true. And then the other thing I would say to you as well is that never mistake failure for failure. Failure is not failure. Failure, in my view, is the indispensable ingredient for success, because if you can learn from failure and mistakes, if you can learn from failure and mistakes and setbacks, that will make you just so much stronger, so much wiser, open your eyes to, you know, and show you the path forward. So it's all good, in my view. The success is good, the failure is good, it all is part of the whole. And yeah, I mean, I just, you know, we've all been very lucky. We live in the United States. We have been able to take advantage of the amazing educational opportunities, the open society, the democracy, the freedoms that we all, you know, need. And this is an amazing place to be able to start your careers or continue your careers. And I just hope that one day, of course, for a diaspora, it's always bittersweet, because we always wish in the back of our minds that we were in our own home countries, putting our, you know, all our love and our labor to work for our own home countries. But, you know, maybe a lot of us will get there eventually, make a visit, do something good for who we can in Iran, and in the meantime, do the best for your families, for yourselves, and never confuse doing well with doing good. Do both of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christiane. Christiane Amanpour.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.